Alright everyone, we start off today as I reported yesterday, of course doing a live reaction of Biden's impromptu press conference, which he did really early in the day, US time, which shows you that he didn't really want too many people to see it. That's because the United States is taking the bizarre, self-deprecating effort right now, is taking the step of banning Russian oil imports. Now, Russian oil imports are, we don't import as much from them as Saudi Arabia or something, but it's a decent sliver of the importation of oil. That number had gone down for years, including before Trump, actually. Biden brought it back up in general, and so it's going to have a significant impact on the economy. Here's the problem. If we had done this 2 years ago, when we had sane leadership maybe, the government would come out and say, okay, but, in response to this, we're going to ban these oil imports. It'll hurt for a while, but we're going to ramp up domestic production. And that could be done fairly quickly because you've got new wells that are there that aren't being exploited because of hyper-regulation. You have better everything. You certainly could deregulate and make it more cost-efficient for more exploratory drilling to take place. One of the biggest things that led to the boom under Trump was exploration in Texas. They re-explored areas they thought were played out and said, oh, there's actually a whole shit ton more oil here. Oh, it's one of the biggest oil strikes in U.S. history, actually. Oh, would you imagine that? We can be energy independent, but what is the Biden administration doing right now? And he's rambling about it on Twitter, and I don't know how smart a strategy this is. Great for the leftoid crowd. They'll love this shit. Literally everyone else, as they watch their paycheck depreciate, costs skyrocket out of sight, and it become impossible for them to commute to work and actually make money because it costs too much, they're all going to hate it because the White House has come out, and first they did a let them eat bread message the other day, effectively from Psaki, which was, well, there's going to be pain for a while. Just fucking buck up, grin and bear it. It's your patriotic duty. And you see this from moron limo liberals like Stephen King, who haven't been in the lower classes for 50 years or so. Then we have them saying, well, what's the way out of this? No, it's not restarting Keystone, which would at least somewhat help the oil situation. It's not to domestically drill. It's not gas. It's not building nuclear plants or doing anything we know would actually work. No, it's green energy. In other words, Chinese-installed solar panels and Chinese-derived metals for windmills, which won't even work. As part of Chinese, largely infrastructural projects that lay waste to tens of thousands of acres of arable or land or fallow land, which is like full of wildlife and shit, like the Bundy Ranch standoff, when BLM wanted it for a Chinese solar development after saying that the Bundys weren't allowed to be there because of some endangered turtle, actually. Have a feeling those turtles are more endangered now that the Chinese have moved in. This is insane. This is, by the way, that slight bump that Biden got because he's now effectively a quasi-wartime president, I don't think it's going to last long because prices and inflation and stuff eat away at a presidential approval more than anything else. Is it Biden's singular fault? No, of course, Russia does play a role. But he's come out and said this is all Russia's fault. The entire last year didn't count. Oil prices were up already significantly. Gas prices, I think, from day one of his asterisk administration had already risen by more than $1. Well, that was all Biden. It has nothing to do with Russia. Now you're going to cause that to redouble. In addition to the damage already done just by market shocks because of the invasion itself, now you're also taking the oil off the table. The Europeans are refusing to do so far, but now Russia's threatening to do it anyway, which would cause the price of even more imports and materials to rise. The U.S. economy can't bear that amount of strain, I don't think. Not for long periods, not unless, again, you want more inflation because you're pumping the economy. The U.S., and Europe probably, are going to close to hyperinflate in response to this if we're not careful. Biden doesn't care, though. Biden thinks that you should just buck up. Deal with it. Oh, sleep more people to a room. Why don't you just downsize? Just sort of like you should defend your home with a shotgun. If there's a home invasion, you should blow the fucking front door off. According to Joe Biden, this is reality. Just deal with it. Be a patriot. We gotta do something about the communists. Oh, I mean the Russians. That's basically what it is. This is stupid Cold War rhetoric masquerading as a call to patriotism. It is not patriotic to destroy the U.S. economy. To be clear, right now if you support Joe Biden, you are being the opposite of patriotic because nothing he does is making sense. Fiscally, this makes absolutely no sense. On messaging, it's even more poor somehow. The messaging is really what's going to kill him, more than the economy itself. The fact that people perceive, and they do, overwhelmingly, they do this, even got some polling on this, they view the Biden administration as unconcerned with the plight of the average American. If you ran on Orange Man bad, he's going to destroy the middle class and start World War III and hurt the economy, and then all these things end up happening on your watch, it's going to be a bloodbath in the midterms, and I love... he was compared to Baghdad Bob by a Twitter user earlier. I won't use their name in case they get dogpiled, but you know who Juan Williams is? He was briefly at Fox as the token liberal bobblehead to be basically the punching bag on the 5 or something like that. He keeps coming out and saying, well, Biden might be the comeback kid during the midterms. Wow, look at those job reports. Oh, he's doing such a good job in Ukraine, you know, by doing buttfuck nothing other than screwing the U.S. economy. You know, with his soaring calls for patriotism and unity, and it's like, you know, eagles flying around and bright lights behind him like the fucking sun or an aura or a halo or something. This sort of hyperbolic propaganda material really only works on people that are already kind of rope-a-doped into the propaganda. You've gone too far. It's too overkill. The average independent will look at this shit and say, well, the price at the pump just drove upwards 50 cents a gallon in the course of 2 or 3 days. People are dying. Biden had a role in that. You'll remember that Kamala was sent to Eastern Europe a couple days before the invasion began. I wonder what sparked it all. Biden calling for unity. There is none. Biden saying he'll tackle crime, but crime is rising. Biden saying he'll do something about gas prices by freeing up enough strategic oil to marginally reduce the price for about a week or two. This is the Biden administration, completely apathetic and pathetic at the same time. Pathetic in the sense of, especially in foreign policy, not knowing what the fuck it's doing, or knowing damn well and doing it on purpose, and apathetic in the sense that they don't even try in their messaging to be sympathetic towards the average American person. When you get that much of a gas price hike in accordance with food prices and everything else, it begins to eat away at the middle class. This isn't just, hey, poor people are going to be a bit poor and we'll need welfare breadcrumbs. No, this is people that have solid middle class jobs. They're pulling in 50, 60K a year. They got a little house. They got kind of a happening thing going on. They don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. But now that meal costs twice as much. It costs twice as much to go get it. They're not making any more at work, and they're wondering, well, you know, things are getting kind of shitty here. I don't feel like I'm even in the middle class. Let's see what the president has to say. Oh, well, we need more green energy. Do you realize, by the way, let's say that you're a big-time leftist. You really love environmentalism, so-called. You're a NIMBYist, and you like the idea of other people having solar panels near them. You like windmills as long as it's not in your neighborhood. But I've never met an environmentalist, so-called, self-professed, at least in the last 10 years, one self-professed green energy nut that wanted it on their home. They don't have the solar panels. At least recycle, reuse, reduce. Am I right? Save the fucking whales. It should be like 1985 or something. If you look at the situation, even they, I think, have to acknowledge one very little fact that Biden did not admit to. Again, there's a reason he didn't take questions. Do you know how long it would take to make a significant dent in the U.S. energy needs? Even if those needs reduce and as prices rise, that's entirely possible. Silver lining, I guess, if you think that we're killing the world. How many years, not months, not weeks, years would it take to put up enough solar panels and windmills to offset 10% of the gas and oil usage in the United States? How many years? Biden's administration would be over by then if he get a second term. So it's not going to do anything about prices. It's bullshit. The only thing he has done that will have even a marginal impact is that he's fucked the U.S. economy backwards with the sanction itself on the Russian oil. Strategic oil reserve freeing up will do basically nothing. Green energy calls will do nothing. Yelling at the oil companies and pretending that they're price gouging people by keeping up with the rate of inflation plus the rate of oil increase in Brent terms anyway, If you add those together, their record profits don't look so impressive. Off paper, it's a little bit of a different story. If you look at the situation, nothing that Biden has done, from berating the companies to freeing up the strategic oil, will make any difference. The problem is, every single month the American people are getting poorer. That means that more and more people are dropping out of a class in which they are comfortable into one in which they're not quite fully comfortable. Or they were kind of getting along and now their head's been shoved underwater. That's what happens with a cumulatively damaged economy. This is the fruit of Bidenomics. It was warned about. Trump warned about it. I warned about it. A handful of others warned about it. Mainstream economists and the legacy media all pretended that these things would happen when Trump was elected. None of them did. Everything was hunky-dory except occasionally getting into Twitter fights. Everything has fallen apart under Biden's presidency. And think, he still has almost 3 more years in that asterisk position. This is why in the midterms, the Democrats need a legendary punishment. And the neocons that have occasionally cucked and buckled and voted for what Biden wanted. Every single one of them needs to lose their jobs if they're up for re-election. At the state level, at the local level, get involved, and especially at the federal level. Now, here's my advice on dealing with Bidenomics. I really hate to say this, but there's nothing you can do other than reduce your materialistic intake. Reduce your costs. This may involve a primary investment in something that pays off longer term. The middle class used to do it with solar panels, ironically enough. Plant a garden if you have the ability to do so. You got a little patio, get a container garden going so you can at least have some fresh tomatoes or something. If you're poor, work an extra shift, take the money, and get your fucking supplies. You can grow 2 to 1 or more money's worth in food terms. You can even get the pre-started seedlings. You don't even have to do that yourself if you don't want to. You go to, well, it used to be like $5 for $5 or something. Get some little tomato seedlings. I'm sure they're more now. Each one of them will produce a lot more than $1 worth of tomatoes. Have you seen the fucking prices lately? That's just for tomatoes. Some potatoes going or something. Literally share tools with your neighbors. Get them involved. You get a trailer park. You don't have a lot of land and everyone's poor. You can do it though. Everyone works a couple extra shifts, pool some of the money to get a few sets of tools, rototill everything up, put in the borders, fucking pile in the seedlings. And then watches, potentially Jed's feral chickens may eat some of the seedlings down, but, they are also bug removal, so plant accordingly. If you're in, the middle class or something, you probably don't have to work the extra shift. Hopefully you have a little on hand. Maybe you've got a garden. Plow in an extra row this year. 2 or 3 rows, probably better. Build a second fucking garden. Get some chickens going. There's a lot of people are getting into urban farming. That's because otherwise you go to the bread line. Why not just get your own shit? By the way, don't eat the bread because, that price will soar out of sight too. And it's not even good for you. Don't eat so much grain. Grow some wholesome things. Maybe you like asparagus. Maybe the only thing you like is fucking potato chips. Grow some potatoes and make your own. It's also, again, cheaper. You want to gunk up your intestines and kill yourself dietarily? Well, do it for half off. That's about all. Peace out.